The son of a British woman who's been detained with her husband in Iran for over a year is calling on the government to do more to get them free.
Yeah, Lindsay and Craig Foreman, who are in their 50s, were captured whilst travelling through Iran. They were on a motorbike tour on their way to Australia, but they were stopped, charged with espionage, which they completely deny, and they're being held in a prison in Tehran. And for the first time, we can tell you that in the summer, the couple were told that they were free. They were put on a commercial flight, but that flight landed in Tehran, the Iranian capital. They were thrown into the back of a van and put back into prison. Lindsay's son Joe says this broke his mother. He wants the government to do more because right now, of course, there are protests turning violent, threats from the American president. You've got a petition that you're handing into Downing Street, already submitted, in order to get them freed. But are you worried about what's happening to the regime there and where it could leave your parents, your mum and her partner?
Yeah, I think it's a huge concern for us as a family.
Yeah.
You hear the concern from them when we get to speak to them.
How often do you speak to mum?
Pretty much daily now.
So when will you speak to her today?
Hopefully around 9 o'clock, and if not, it'll be around 1 o'clock.
And the only reason that that's come about is because she went on hunger strike, right?
Yeah, so they had to put themselves through an ordeal to get what was promised to them, and it's something so small that makes a massive difference to them both. We hadn't spoken to them for over 8 months.
Wow.
And then to be able to speak to them once was, you know, a joy. But now to be able to really reconnect with the two of them is massive for us as a family, but massive for them.
How does that work? I mean, do you have to go through some complex procedure or special line, or is it just a number you dial?
So essentially what happened previously, they'd go through something called the Global Recovery Centre, which I believe based in Malaga. They would then get transferred through to us. So it was quite complex and wasted a lot of their allotted time. They only get 20 minutes max. What we do now, they've got a direct line that comes through to our mobiles, so it means that it's more efficient, that we can have a longer conversation. But again, it's not always guaranteed. It does get cut off at points.
And it'll all be being monitored.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely being monitored.
Talk to us, because this is the first time we're reporting that this devastating fake release happened last summer.
Yeah.
So they'd been being held by the Iranians under these espionage charges that they completely deny for around 6 months.
Yeah.
What happened in the summer?
So they were being transferred to Tehran. They were being held in command at the time, and they were put on a commercial flight.
Being told you're about to be released.
Congratulations, you've been released. This is the end. You're going home. You know, and this is the design of what they're facing. Right. This is what happens. They try to break people mentally. So told that they're going home, normal flight, as you would, air hostess, everything that comes with it.
They were given their passports
Given
back.
their passports, everything happened, and then when they landed in Tehran, it was very much, you know, boarded the plane, blindfolded, handcuffed, and put in the back of a van and shipped off to their relative prison.
So do you think that this was a deliberate manipulation of your parents' state of mind in order to put them under more stress, or do you think something went wrong with the release?
I mean, I personally think it's done by design, so it's there to break them. I don't think it was a mistake.
And what did your mum say about it?
It broke her. It broke them both, right? Imagine the hope that you've got, the relief, the joy, the apprehension of seeing family again, thinking, OK, we can reconnect, we can rekindle, and then to have that stripped away of you so brutally, it's crushing, right? That's,
when you say, though, that your mum was broken, I mean, I get the feeling that your mum and her partner, they're strong people. They were adventurers.
Yeah.
They've been through a lot. They've done a hunger strike. I mean, actually, they're showing great strength and fortitude. They're not broken. They're still fighting on. They've
definitely got resilience. That's for sure. But you know, I've also heard them both at their most vulnerable, and that is a hard thing to hear. They put on a brave face, like we all do, right? We try and put on a brave face to them, and they do the same for us. But when you get put under pressure, you know, each day that passes is a chisel away at their mental and physical health. So it's only a matter of time before they do break.
Can I ask you about the Foreign Office? The Foreign Office have told us they remain deeply concerned. We continue to raise this case directly with the Iranian authorities, that they're assisting you. Is the British government doing enough to support you and them?
No, it's simply not that at the moment. I think, you know, they say that they're treating this case as a priority, and to me, priority means action. And at the moment, the action doesn't weigh up against the risks that they're facing. They are in grave danger. As I say, when a regime topples, it doesn't offer detainees stability. If anything, it makes them more vulnerable because there's actions that they can take that, you know, are not pleasant, to say the least.
So you are worried that if this current regime in Iran, which is under an enormous amount of pressure and protests which are turning more violent, if the regime was toppled, what would happen to your parents?
This is the part that we can't predict because Craig's held with the political prisoners and my mum is in with the convicted felons, which, again, to me doesn't make sense. If she's accused of espionage, surely that makes her a political prisoner. Again, I think it's all done by design.
They don't have contact?
They have contact, but they don't. They see each other 3 times a month, and they get to call each other potentially daily, not every day. Craig said he's about 100 metres from my mum as the crow flies, but, you know, in a mass panic, when you've got thousands and thousands of inmates potentially trying to get out or whatever it may be, where do they go? They don't know the area, and we don't know the area, so it's very tough to predict.
Can I ask the difficult question, which is why did they go into Iran? Because it's a hostile state. You know, it's not somewhere that is on the tourist destinations of most people. Why did they make the trip through?
I mean, it's something we've spoken about, obviously, with my mum, and, you know, she does a risk assessment. They both do. They are cautious people, but they are also free-spirited. And I suppose they did a risk assessment of how everything was laid out in terms of what the risks are, which is detention and questioning and potentially, you know, other things as well, which is like death penalties. When you look at questioning and detention, and this is what she says, when you're looking at that through the eyes of innocence, you think, well, the max that will happen will be questioned, detained for a couple of days, found innocent and let on our way. I think what needs to change there is the absolute possibility that you can be taken and arbitrarily detained. That's what this is. It ticks every box for arbitrary detention. But that doesn't, there's no mention of that anywhere. And I think when you do a risk assessment, as I say, through the eyes of innocence, you think, well, I've done no wrong.
What's their motive, the Iranians? Why? I mean, what do they hope to gain from causing such distress to, you know, to your family?
It's a million-dollar question, right? What is it that they want? That's what we're trying to figure out, because that means that they're closer to getting them home. But I don't know. I think that they try to break people to the point where desperation comes through so massively that we were like, right, everything needs to be done, and we're at that point.
They're not asking though for anything. They just want them to say they're guilty.
Yeah, and this is the trouble, is that, you know, I think that's why we need to take a change as a government. We have to change our stance, is because we've tried the quiet diplomacy, we've tried the talks. Arbitrary detention is what this is. When you call that out, leverages are given, and there's other avenues that you can take. It becomes a different case completely.
And you've got support, haven't you, from Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe and Richard Ratcliffe?
Massive support.
Well,
and Anousheh Ashuri, you know, these are people who experience what we're going through, and they
Over
have
years,
been.
over years.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
And, you know, send our huge best wishes to your mum when you speak to her at 9 o'clock this morning. Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
Thank you.